How many factory workers are being denied the right wages for the God called prophet? How many women are being sacrificed to the God called domination?
What if the man tipped to lead the Catholic Church was asked to wait, by a new pope no one saw coming? In May 2025, the world held its breath as Pope Leo XIV hit pause on Cardinal Luis Antonio Tagle's future. Was this a snub? A betrayal? Or something far deeper? This is the story of a humble leader, a discerning pope, and a church at a crossroads. A story of grace under pressure that'll leave you rethinking what true leadership looks like. Back in 2012, a young Filipino cardinal stood before Pope Benedict XVI, tears in his eyes, as he received his red hat. Luis Antonio Tagle wasn't just another cleric. Charismatic, warm, and down-to-earth, he was dubbed the Asian Francis long before Pope Francis became a household name. Catholics saw something special in him, a man of the people, a preacher who could make you cry, laugh, and believe all at once. Many whispered he could be the Church's future, maybe even the first Asian pope. Fast forward to May 2025, and the stakes couldn't be higher. A new pope, Leo XIV, had just been elected after a historic conclave. The world watched closely, expecting big moves. Would Tagle, now a global figure and head of a key Vatican department, get a major role? Or would he be sidelined? On May 10, the Vatican's press office dropped a bombshell, but not the kind you'd expect. In a single, calm sentence, they announced that Pope Leo XIV wanted time to pray, reflect, and talk before making any big decisions, including Tagle's fate. No promotions. No demotions. Just pause. That one line sent shockwaves. After all, Tagle's next step was supposed to signal where the Church was headed. Was Leo XIV stalling? Was he unsure? Or was this a masterstroke disguised as hesitation? The internet exploded with theories. Some called it a slap in Tagle's face. Others said it was a sign of trouble in Rome. But here's where it gets gripping: Tagle didn't flinch. He didn't sulk or scheme. In his own words, he said, "We wait for him to make changes if he wants to." That's not just humility. That's strength. And it's why this story isn't what you think. Let's rewind to understand why Tagle matters. Born in Manila, he grew up in a modest family, far from the Vatican's marble halls. He became a priest, then a bishop, and by 2011, he was Archbishop of Manila. His sermons were electric, full of stories, humor, and raw emotion. He'd weep openly when talking about God's love or the poor. People didn't just listen, they felt it. When he got his cardinal's hat in 2012, it wasn't just a promotion. It was a sign the Church was changing, embracing voices from places like the Philippines, where faith runs deep. Oh, and before we go further, I need a quick favor. I'm trying to hit 30,000 subscribers by the end of the year. If you're finding this story as gripping as I do, please hit that subscribe button. It means the world and helps me keep sharing stories like this. Now, back to Tagle. By 2025, Tagle was a Vatican heavyweight, leading the dicastery for evangelization, a role that put him at the heart of spreading the Church's message. He was still the same Tagle, smiling, approachable, and fiercely devoted. But he was also a contender. When Pope Francis's papacy ended, many Filipinos and Catholics worldwide hoped Tagle would take the throne. His name was on every shortlist. His face was in every news outlet. The conclave came, and the white smoke rose, but it wasn't Tagle. It was Leo XIV, a surprise pick, a missionary from Peru, multilingual, and deeply pastoral. The disappointment in Manila was heavy. Hearts broke. But Tagle? He didn't miss a beat. Instead of bitterness, he went home to Manila and spoke to his people. Picture this: a cardinal, who could have been pope, standing before a crowd, his voice trembling. He didn't hide the sorrow. He named it. "Yes, we hoped," he said. "Yes, it hurts." But then he lifted their eyes to something bigger. God's plan is perfect, even when we don't get it. The crowd wept. Not out of despair, but because Tagle turned pain into hope. That moment didn't divide, it healed. And it's why people don't just follow Tagle, they trust him. Now, let's talk about Pope Leo XIV, because he's not what the rumors paint him to be. Some corners of the internet screamed that Leo was sidelining Tagle, that he was a cold tactician cleaning house. But the facts tell a different story. Leo, a former missionary who spent years serving the poor in Peru, isn't a Vatican insider. He speaks 5 languages, knows Latin American and Asian cultures, and listens more than he talks. When he was elected, he didn't rush to make headlines. He didn't fire anyone or issue grand decrees. Instead, he kept every Vatican leader, Tagle included, in their roles for now. Why? Because he wanted to pray first. To reflect. To understand who could carry his vision. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Here's where the plot thickens. In the Vatican, when a new pope is elected, every department head, like Tagle, offers to step down. It's standard. It gives the pope a clean slate to pick his team. Leo could have replaced Tagle on day 1. He didn't. He asked for time. That's not a rejection, it's a sign Tagle's still in the game. Vatican insiders say this isn't a no to Tagle, it's a not yet. And Tagle's response? Pure class. He's not lobbying or complaining. He's waiting, serving, and leading by example. That's the kind of man who doesn't need a title to shine. But rumors don't sleep. Social media lit up with wild claims. One post said Tagle was betrayed by allies in the conclave. Another called Leo a dictator crushing Tagle's dreams. Fear spreads fast, especially when people are hungry for drama. So let's cut through the noise. No major news outlet, not BBC, not CNN, not the New York Times, has reported any proof of betrayal or tension. The Vatican's own statements are clear, no animosity, no rebuke. Tagle is still leading his dicastery, still trusted by Leo. So where did these stories come from? Simple, speculation. Sensationalism. People filling silence with noise. If you're wondering who Pope Leo XIV really is, he's no tyrant. Tagle himself described him as very human, very humble, but very discerning. Those aren't words of fear, they're words of respect. Leo's early moves show a man who leads with his soul. He didn't sweep out Vatican officials or chase clout with big announcements. He chose prayer over power. Reflection over rush. That's a pope who knows the weight of his choices. And it's a pope who sees something in Tagle worth keeping. Why does Tagle's story hit so hard? It's not just his words, it's how he says them. He doesn't fake it. When he speaks, you hear his heart. He'll cry mid-sermon, his voice cracking as he talks about Jesus or the poor. He'll laugh when a kid in the crowd yells something funny. He's real. And that authenticity gives people permission to feel their own doubts, joys, and hopes. His speeches aren't just talks, they're moments. Like in Manila, when he faced a disappointed nation and turned their grief into faith. Or when he told reporters, "We wait," with a smile that said he meant it. Tagle's spiritual depth is another reason he stands out. His words aren't about politics or power. They're about God, love, and the human struggle. He reminds people why they believe, even when life, or the church, feels messy. And then there's his shared humanity. He's not some distant prince in a red robe. He's a brother, a friend, someone who weeps when you weep and hopes when you hope. A Filipino lay leader put it perfectly, Tagle is our mirror. He's what faith looks like when it's lived, not just preached. The Philippines felt a gut punch when Tagle didn't become pope. For a country where Catholicism is woven into daily life, he was their pride, their hope for a church that looked like them. The heartbreak was real. But Tagle didn't let it fester. He went to Manila, faced the crowds, and spoke from the heart. He didn't dodge the pain. He leaned into it, then pointed to something bigger. God's plan is always perfect, he said. Those words didn't just comfort, they united. They reminded people that faith isn't about getting what you want, it's about trusting when you don't. What makes Tagle's leadership so magnetic? It's not ambition. It's service. He could have been pope, yet he stayed grounded. He could have lashed out at rumors, but he stayed quiet. He could have chased power, but he chose love. That's why Catholics, especially in Asia, see him as a compass. Not because he's perfect, but because he's real. He's the church they dream of, open, human, and full of hope. Let's zoom out. The narrative of betrayal around Tagle? It's noise, not truth. There's no evidence he was stabbed in the back during the conclave. No leaked documents, no credible reports. The idea comes from smear campaigns, ideological fights, and the ache of unmet hopes. But Tagle isn't a victim. He's a witness. A witness to endurance, to faith, to grace. In a world obsessed with winning, his quiet dignity is a louder victory than crown. Pope Leo XIV's pause isn't a plot twist, it's a promise. A promise to lead with care, to choose with prayer, to build a church that listens. And Tagle's patience? It's a mirror of that promise. Together, they're showing the world something rare, leadership that doesn't shout, but sings. Leadership that doesn't demand, but invites. Leadership that doesn't break, but builds. So, what's next for Tagle? No one knows yet. Leo XIV might give him a bigger role. He might keep him where he is. Or he might surprise us all. But one thing's clear. Tagle doesn't need a new title to matter. His legacy is already written, in the tears of the people he's touched, in the hope he's sparked, in the faith he's lived. The rumors tried to paint this as a story of betrayal. They got it wrong. This is a story of resilience without resentment. Of leadership without ego. Of faith that holds strong, even when the votes don't go your way. The next time someone tries to twist Tagle's story, remind them, there was no fall. There was only grace. And grace, in the end, speaks louder than any lie. Pope Leo XIV and Cardinal Tagle aren't at war, they're at work, building a church that's bigger than headlines, stronger than rumors, and deeper than disappointment. This is their moment. And it's only just begun.